It is Sunday school. Yes, Constance and I have voted already. So that's no need to try to convince us. The die is cast. And we're especially uh, excited about a local mayoral uh, race. And we hope uh, our candidate our candidate comes out good. Anyway, I hope you've voted too, or those of you in the United States. Um, it You can be as cynical as you want, but uh, it's still one little thing that we can do that at least has a roll of the dice chance at uh, improving the situation or preventing a terrible, uh, even worse situation. So we both encourage you uh, to vote if you haven't sent in your mail-in already, uh, to do it. Anyway, there is that. That's not my sermon for today. Uh, my sermon is something that I wrote actually uh, many years ago, close to 30 years ago, uh, as a wise old man, 30 years younger than me right now. Uh, and it's well, there's a sort of a backup story to it, or a backstory to it. And the backstory is uh, when I was 19, I was the person at school that I bought my LSD from, my connection at Orange Coast College in 1966. Um, was a professional stage hypnotist, and quite a kind of psychologist kind of guy at school. And we our only connection was because of his career in psychology. He had access to like good clinical quality LSD. Uh, but he had mentioned that he, in his therapy, sometimes he would hypnotically regress people, even past their birth into the circumstances of their last life. And of course, I said, "Oh God, can you do me? Would you hypnotize me?" And so he did. Okay, and it didn't seem like I was being hypnotically regressed at all. Okay, it just I swore I wasn't even hypnotized, but nevertheless, I just described what I was seeing in my head, and he regressed me, past the time I spent in the crib, which is easy for me to remember, and then into literally a blink of an eye, and I was standing on a platform, very small platform, about maybe 3 by 3 foot uh, platform, but it was on a pole and it was connected to another platform. Uh, I don't know, 20 feet away or something like that, and connected by a tight rope. And I remember looking down at my feet and sort of seeing a bushy mustache, or at least in my mind's eye, I was placing those just like you would when you think about yourself. And I had a pole in my hand, and I was stepping out onto the wire, and I remember bouncing a little bit on the wire, kind of to test the tightness of it and everything else. And my foot slipped off. You know how you fall off your foot sometimes? And I fell and I landed and I felt sort of the air blow out of my lungs, and that was it. Okay. And so that was the circumstances of one of my incarnation's last moments, kind of thing. Well, I didn't think very much of it because I didn't feel like I was being hypnotized at all. Then years later, when we were doing the Enochian magic contacts with EHNB off of the Tablet of Union, uh, I asked the spirit if he knew what we considered to be consecutive incarnations, and the answer came back. David Wilson was the scryer. He said, "Yes, I understand what it is, but it's not what you think. It's not exactly what you think." And I said, "Well, tell me my last incarnation, how I died. Tell me how I died." Now, I had forgotten completely about this uh, hypnotic regression thing when I was 18 years old or 17 years old. Uh, and so David started to have a vision, and it was he saw what appeared to be the main character in the vision, which was me, and I was sort of dressed in sort of like one of those long Arab, it looks like a sleep shirt, a big light, it's just a regular shirt, but it was like a shirt with a shirt tail that goes all the way almost down to your below the knees. And I was on a rooftop with a bunch of other boys about my age, and it looked like the flat roofs of a Middle Eastern city or a town or a village of some kind, and that uh, there were telephone wires or telegraph wires, and so David always tried to see what was in the landscape to try to pinpoint, a date range, and if there was telegraph wires, it would have to be at least 19th century kind of thing. And we were all laughing and running around on the top of the roof like it was we shouldn't be there. And there were pipes. There were pipes or poles. And I picked up a pole and held it like horizontally, like I was trying to imitate a tightrope walker or something. And there was a wire that strung from the top of the roof I was on to the roof across the street. Okay, and my I don't know if we were drunk or if we were stoned or whatever, but my friends urged me to be a tightrope walker and walk across or they dared me. Okay, and I took a step off and I fell. Okay. That vision recalled to my mind that hypnotic regression uh, thing that happened many, many years earlier. Now we could say that during the scrying hypnotic session of Enochian magic, David just plucked that out of my unremembered subconscious mind. You can say whatever. I'm not trying to prove the power of spirits here. I'm just trying to set up the background for this. In My Life with the Spirits, the second to the last chapter is How to End an Autobiography Without Dying. And this will be my sermon for today. And now I'm faced with the awkward task of ending an autobiography while still alive. I certainly do not intend to die anytime soon just to provide a clean ending. But as I conclude this little book, it might not be a bad idea to pause for a moment to ponder that undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, and share with you my thoughts on death. Do I believe in an afterlife? Do I believe in karma and reincarnation? Do I believe in heaven or hell? Am I afraid to die? The answer to all of these questions is a qualified yes. On the other hand, if you ask me if I believe that when I die I'll be hauled into some celestial courtroom to appear before the God of judgment who will convict me on evidence of my failure in life to sacrifice my intelligence and common sense in order to believe unquestioningly in a particular cult's interpretation of the details surrounding a historical or mythological event, or my inability or disinclination to submit to a particular collection of ancient superstitions, tribal taboos, then my answer is an unqualified no. I'm perpetually amazed that stable, intelligent people with driver's licenses and college degrees, people who can finish the New York Times crossword puzzle and run huge corporations, people who otherwise display the most superior powers of intelligence and insight, can actually look me in the eye and tell me in deadly earnest that they believe that all human beings have been cursed by the creator of the universe because of the very fact that we were born. Or that because we're already guilty of committing life, the Creator has condemned us to eternal torture after we die. And that we can plea bargain ourselves out of this fate by perfectly surrendering to certain mental and behavioral patterns and parameters that are outlined in a book composed of 66 chapters written over a period of hundreds of years by an unknown number of authors in an assortment of languages, an unerring book that has been translated scores of times by individuals employed by intensely biased institutions, or who believe that after we die, our corpses at some unspecified date in the future will reanimate like zombies and fly up from our graves and hover in the sky at the side of our deity, who, sitting on a flying horse, will slaughter 1/3 of the population of the planet. Afterwards, the same deity will preside over the ultimate kangaroo court in the clouds and issue one-way tickets to the lake of fire to the newly murdered and all others who in life did not unquestionably believe that all this was the only spiritual game plan in town. I'm sorry, my friends. I cannot see how blindly accepting the above doctrine, or any of 100 others just as ludicrous, could possibly be good for one's mental health. As a matter of fact, it appears obvious to me that in order for a rational, intelligent person to subscribe to such silliness, and still live a relatively normal life, he or she must set aside a small corner of the brain devoted exclusively to religious mental illness and visit that area as infrequently as possible. This does not mean that I think that individuals who fervently believe in a specific after-death scenario do not experience their expectations in the mysterious, timeless moments of the death coma. On the contrary, I think it's highly likely that one's visions at the moment of death mirror in perhaps nightmarish detail the crystallized reality, in quotes, of whatever spiritual worldview has captured and enslaved the decedent's imagination in life. For this reason, I'm particularly saddened when I think of the untold millions of my fellow human beings who have exited this plane of existence still harboring torturous doubts as to their worthiness to pass such an impossible judgment. Shouldn't religion be satisfied with terrorizing their devotees into social and economic obedience during life? Is it really necessary to demand from these poor souls one last act of tragic self-condemnation, insidiously designed to trigger horrifying visions and unspeakable terror during the death experience? In 1954, I was 6 years old, and I loved to listen to the radio. That year, one of my favorite songs was Rosemary Clooney's "This Old House." The refrain went like this: "Ain't a gonna need this house no longer, ain't a gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles, ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges, nor to mend the window pane. Ain't a gonna need this house no longer, I'm getting ready to meet the saints." It's a perky little song, and I didn't give the words much thought until my mother was sensitive enough to point out that the house in the song was really somebody's body, and that they were singing about getting ready to die. From then on, the song gave me creeps, and I never sang it again. I still can't stand this song, but it makes a very good point. We're not bodies possessing souls. We are souls inhabiting bodies. For thousands of years, the great Osirian religion of ancient Egypt impressed upon devotees an image of a resurrected body as the key to overcoming death. Changing only a few names and images, Christianity inherited the Osirian formula and has perpetuated it through the 20th century and into the 21st century. The Osirian formula is based on the incorrect assumption that the sun is born and dies every day and teeters toward extinction every winter. The identity of the Osirian devotee was centered in earth, an earth that just sits in place, and a helpless spectator of the sun's birth and death. This is precisely the role played by pious Christians who can only hope to overcome death by riding the magical coattails of Christ's death and resurrection. A body hoping to come to life again. Times have changed. We know now that the sun does not die, neither does it need a magical resurrection. Shouldn't it be logical that the next step in spiritual evolution would be to harmonize with our most recent understanding of reality? It's not so hard to move our identity from the earth to the sun. Sun is on all the time. We are on all the time. There is no life after death. There's only life. I knew it as an infant. That's why I could never picture myself being off. The solution to my crib meditation is the simple fact that there is no off. The body is bound to wear out. Sooner or later, there won't be time to fix the shingles. Won't be time to fix the floor. Is it such a catastrophe to leave a house that's falling apart? Perhaps the vision I received when I was hypnotized, hypnotically regressed in college, and the vision of the Enochian spirit EHNB were not pictures of an actual event, but an allegory of all death experiences. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if one day, when I'm incredibly old and trying to recover from a long afternoon of flamenco dancing and unbridled sex, I close my eyes and find myself standing on the roof of my house. In front of me, I see a wire strung tightly to the house across the street. I hear my friends laughing. And once again, the sum total of my life's momentum urges me on toward new experiences, urges me on to the narrow wire that joins this old house, to the new one just across the street. And that's the Sunday sermon. It comes from my book, My Life with the Spirits. And that's it for Sunday. And remember, my voting sticker. No, here it is. There it is. I voted. Go out and vote if you can. Go out and vote if you have the privilege to do it. Go out and vote while you have the privilege to. Until tomorrow and Monday, order of Monday morning, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.